Yeah, 100%, bro. I'm glad you spun into this. We met on a jet, and we could cut this out if you don't want to bring this up, but
No, yeah, let's talk about this.
this was at your lowest point.
Yeah, this is when the depression hit at an all-time high. I accomplished 10 million subs, and I didn't even know why I wanted to get 10 million subs at that point. I was so invested in my career, and I was so worshiping money, and I had a lot of people I was answering to, and I had hit rock bottom. It is safe to say that, I would say.
And we had a really cool conversation. And I want to bring up Lazarus because you tell me that it stuck with you.
Yeah.
And I remember when we were about to shoot this podcast, I said, I really want to make sure we highlight over this jet life. Not jet life. This jet life, bro. This life that we had that we met on a jet. So to give a little perspective of where we were on our way to Jake's fight. I have absolutely no idea why we were on this jet. I don't.
Nissan Gib, they were just pilot. I don't either, dude.
Who paid for this?
Some company paid for it to have all these influencers out to the Jake Paul fight because that in return makes more people watch the fight. But good question.
But dude, like,
one of the people on Jake
a jet's pretty expensive, especially going from here to Florida, right? It was in Florida?
It was $45K.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, so we're on this jet, and everybody's doing their thing. This is my first time I ever met this kid. How is this camera going? Is it about to cut out? Should we like?
No, I got it.
Okay, cool. Because sorry. My brain's all over the place. We're on this jet, and this is the first time I met this kid, and something in my heart told me to tell him about Lazarus. And for anybody who doesn't know about this biblical story of Jesus and Lazarus, Lazarus is a man who was dead, and so I actually want to tell the story real quick.
Yeah, tell it.
Because there might be somebody out there that needs to hear this. And so this is the story of Lazarus. Please go read the Bible because I'm going to be paraphrasing it in my point of view. But it's very important to know that I am not a preacher. I am a man who loves talking about Jesus because Jesus did a lot for me. So I don't want in any way, shape, or form for people to be like, oh, this guy knows all of the answers. I'm somebody who wants to express myself.
It's a great metaphor.
I'm not a teacher, so please do your due diligence in reading the gospel. But the story of Lazarus is really cool, and I just want to go through it really quick. A messenger came to Jesus, and he said, your friend Lazarus is sick. And it's kind of funny that he says friend because he doesn't say, oh, there's a man named Lazarus. So in this regard, Jesus knew who this Lazarus was. So then I talked to this rabbi and not rabbi, a priest, and I was like, so what's the story behind this? It turns out that Lazarus and Jesus were friends, and his sisters would one of them would cook meals for him, and the other one would wash Jesus' feet. So when the messenger came to Jesus, the way that we all come in a time of need and in troubled times, we go, hey, it's me. It's me, your friend, your son, your daughter. Come. And we expect Jesus to be like, okay, let me come right now. At this time, at this moment that you think it's good for me to come. But Jesus didn't do that. He hung back. He hung back for 5 days. And I was like, they say the number specifically, and I read into it that the reason why I feel that Jesus waited that exact amount of days is because back in the day when you were a Jewish man or a Jewish woman, you would believe that the soul, when a man dies, does not leave the body yet. It takes a certain amount of days. So Jesus specifically waited so they know that this person is dead and gone. And so Jesus comes after 5 or some days, and he's waiting at the gate. And I love this because he doesn't just enter. He doesn't just come into your home. He waits. He waits at the gate like a gentleman. And I always explain this. Jesus is a gentleman. He'll knock on your door. He's not going to enter like Satan is going through your window or these demons are sneaking into your house. He's a gentleman. He's going to knock. He's going to wait for you to open the door. And one of the sisters came to the gate. Not 2, 1. And again, read this story. I hope to not butcher this. My biggest fear is butchering it, but I just want to get this message across. He comes to the gate. One's upset, doesn't even want to look at him. And that's so funny because it shows 2 types of characteristics. When we're mad at God for not showing up in time, we get mad, right? We're like, oh, where were you? You don't deserve to be God. There's somebody else that would be there at the right time. You're not doing your job right. And then there's some people that are like, no, I'm going to meet him at the gate, even through my tough times.
I have faith.
And have faith. So he comes in and he starts weeping. And it's so crazy to me that God's crying here, because I already know that he knows that he's God and he's about to do the miracle that he's about to present. But he was crying not because he's like, oh, he's dead. There's nothing we could do here. I was too late. He was crying because they didn't have faith. So because they didn't have faith, he says, I want you to remove a boulder. Now there's a boulder that is the tomb, right? So there's a boulder that's blocking this dead man named Lazarus. And back then, you don't want to open the tomb, because back then we didn't know that much about spirituality. So there was a lot of rumors that like, oh, if you open the tomb, the soul could get lost. There could be a lot of problems. So he says, move it. And moving his own boulder showed faith. And I want to highlight this part, because sometimes when you work on faith, it feels like you're failing because you're scared. You don't know what's going on. You're working out of other emotions. But faith doesn't mean you don't have fear. Faith means you have fear, but you're moving forward. So never be ashamed of having fear. Fear is something that we all are going to experience. So they move the boulder, and he says, Lazarus, come out. And this man raises from the dead, and he comes out. And why I find this story to be so beautiful is I believe that every man and woman find that they come to a situation where they feel like it's dead. It could be a relationship between your mother and your father. It could be a relationship at work. It could be your dreams and aspirations. It could be your own children's relationship.
Drugs.
It could be you're chained to drugs, and this is dead. I can't get out of it. This is how it is.
Yeah, too far gone.
Nothing is too late. There's nothing dead that God cannot bring back to life. If you are on drugs, it is not too late. If there's a relationship between your mother and father and they're still breathing, he could bring that relationship back to life. Please don't think and pray and believe in a God and then put him in a box like they did. If you believe in a God, worship with all your heart. Don't be 1 foot in and 1 foot out, because then you're tying his hands. He cannot move the boulder for you. He cannot try to start that relationship for you. But if there's something that you find in your heart that is dead and you're scared or you're afraid or you're angry, that's totally fine. But move forward and trust God. So I just wanted to take the time to tell that story for anybody who's out there that feels like it's too late, it's dead in the water. Just know who your God is. He's a very real God that breathes life, and that there's no situation that you're in that's too late.
And it's so nice to be able to put your anxiety onto something else and even feel like you can do that. Because the biggest thing that stemmed from that conversation for me on that plane was I was completely new to the idea of Jesus in a way. And you told me that story, and it really resonated with my heart, because at the time I was really struggling with smoking a lot of weed. And for some reason that weekend, I had not smoked weed. And normally every flight I ever went on, I was intoxicated, and I wasn't that time. And I remember you told me, look, bro, if there's anything, like after that story, you said, if there's anything to take away from this, is if you feel any certain type of way this week. I was dealing with anxiety bad at that time. Like I didn't even know how to begin to deal with it. Like I was deep in that mud. And I remember you said, just say Jesus' name. If you're feeling, and I wanted to say this because like I took everything with a grain of salt that he said, because I was very much like, yeah, all right, I'm gonna hear him out because I'm not intoxicated right now. We're stuck on a plane. We're sitting next to each other. I'm gonna hear him out. I would give my full attention. And at the end of it, before we got off the plane, I wasn't like supposed to be hanging out with you or anything, which we did hang out a lot that trip.
Yeah, that was the beginning of a very beautiful relationship.
It really was. And then I remember you said, look, Tanner, just next time you have anxiety, because I was telling you what I was struggling with. I was being real honest with you too.
Yeah.
And then you said, just say Jesus' name when you feel that way. And I remember I was hanging out with some not so great people that weekend. That's who I was going to meet up with. Everyone had their little social cliques. And I remember I was in this house with these people, and I started getting an anxiety attack. And this is at the point where I didn't even know how to begin to control it, which following this stuff has really helped me even understand that how to place it elsewhere and not focus so much on my own issues.
Yeah.
And I remember I was sitting in this bathroom. I was just sitting on the toilet because I was trying to escape these people. And I was just like trying to get a free thought moment. I remember I prayed to Jesus. Maybe it was for 3 seconds. But I remember the weight lifted off of me. And then I'm pretty sure we started chilling a lot more that weekend after that. And that's when I first like was able to open my heart in a sense and like have any sort of my own direction in that area when I really needed it. And I wasn't able to put my faith really anywhere else. I felt like I was at a dead end there. And sometimes you still do in the future. But I just wanted to add that because
Amen, bro.
that's really what resonated with me
That's
from that
awesome.
too.
All right, if you guys liked that clip, go ahead and hit that link in my description and watch the full podcast. You will not regret it. Thanks for your support. Love you.